well as on YouTube and Facebook Live. It is my honor to welcome back to Baton Rouge our guest speaker, Reverend Byron C. Stevenson, a proud Baton Rouge native and graduate of Southern University. Since founding the Fort Bend Church in Sugar Land, Texas in 2004, Pastor Stevenson has built a thriving congregation of over 45 ministries grounded in trust, faith, kindness, compassion, and liberal giving. A respected community leader, he has served on the executive board of the Baptist General Convention of Texas and chaired the audit committee of the Houston Area Urban League, a member of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity, a life member of the Southern University Alumni Federation. His ministry has taken him from Cairo and Jerusalem to Rome and Bethlehem, and it is my pleasure to welcome him here to speak with you today. Reverend Stevenson.
God bless you. Thank you. Well, good morning.
Good morning.
It is wonderful to be back on the campus of Southern University, and good to be back in my hometown of Baton Rouge, Louisiana. I am thankful for the invitation from the Baldrige Center and Terry Braden for making this opportunity available for me today and to just come and share some thoughts from a leader perspective. And hopefully this time that we spend together will be worth your while, because I do want to share some things that they don't teach in the classroom. And so just good to be here. I want to take a moment just to introduce some people I have with me. Of course, my wife, who's also a Southern grad. We're both December 1990 graduates of Southern University in accounting. Sonia, would you say hello? Then my daughter, who's here, Claire Stevenson. There she is in the back. She's a graduate of the Southern University Law School. And so she kind of wears the blue and gold a little bit too. They wear the logo. I have two members of my staff, my current staff, who are with me. Reverend John Moore, who's our Director of Brand Management, is here with us. And also Nanaji Agbolabori, who's our Media Director. So as I talk about staffing, I brought some of my staff with me. I represent an organization that has been in place since 2004. I was the founder of the Fort Bend Church, which resides in Sugar Land, Texas. That's southwest of Houston. Since that time, in 22 years now, we've grown. We started at about 300 members, and now we're getting very close to 10,000 in membership in these past 20 years. I've been the pastor since then, and as of this Sunday, hopefully I'm still the pastor of the Fort Bend Church. But we have grown, as I said, about 45 ministries. We employ 50 employees part-time and full-time. I think 22 of that 50 are full-time staff. But it is a African-American middle-class context in suburban Houston. And I have discovered when I developed this session that the principles that I'm going to share with you today are transferable. They apply mostly to the church environment. We're not going to be too churchy today, but I do believe that what you'll gather is applicable to where you are, whatever company you work for, whatever nonprofit you may work for or lead. It'll be applicable to that. So, with that said, we're going to go ahead and get started. Now, they told me I had they told me the time limit I'm working with. Y'all do know I'm a Baptist preacher, right? So, but we're going to stay within a lot of time. Maybe we'll do even better. Steve Jobs, the co-founder of Apple, when asked about the right approach to hiring people, he suggests that great vision without great people is irrelevant. Jack Welch, the former CEO of General Electric, he says, if you pick the right people and give them the opportunity to spread their wings, you almost don't have to manage them. Jim Collins, who writes, he's the author of the book Good to Great, says the single biggest constraint on the success of my organization is the ability to get and hang on to enough of the right people. Lee Iacocca, famous former CEO of Chrysler, says I hire people brighter than me, and then I get out of their way. Bill Gates, co-founder of Microsoft, says the key for us has always been hiring smart people. An interesting statistic of note, 74%, that's high, 74% of employers admit they have hired the wrong person for the job. 74%. So, with that in mind, I want to talk about how to pick first round draft picks. And I want to give some leadership principles, hopefully, that will help you in sustaining your organizations. How to pick first round draft picks. In April, matter of fact, this year, April 23rd, we'll start, the NFL, National Football League, will start the NFL draft. This happens as a culmination of players and general managers from all of our 32 football teams in the NFL. They're scouting the field. They have attended the combine to visit with the rookies and letting them show their talents and their skills. They're looking for specific athletes to further their organization with the goal in mind is always winning the Super Bowl. When teams draft players in April, they draft them with the intention of winning the Super Bowl. That is the ultimate, that is the vision, that is the goal of every NFL organization. In like manner, when we talk about first-round draft picks, today I want to talk about people who have the potential to shape the future of your organization. And just like in sports, strong leaders select people based on hype. They don't select people based on hype alone. They select people with the future in mind, the future of their organization in mind. They select people who have a long-term impact upon their organization, and also they look for people who have potential over hype. A lot of people can hype up their resume and make it seem as though, my God, they're like Jesus. They can walk on water if you hire them. But you want to select people that have potential and a long-term impact. Okay. Scouting the field. Before the draft, you've got to do three things. And by draft, I'm metaphorically using that to explain the entire hiring process, okay? The first step is to understand who you are leading. You have to assess the demographics of who you are leading, okay? While I'm going through this presentation, what you'll hear is basically the Fort Bend Church story and how we got started and how we are where we are today based upon these principles. You have to know who you are leading. I'm currently in a doctoral program at United Theological Seminary in Dayton, Ohio. And my thesis, this is helping me with my dissertation. My thesis argument is that churches in particular are called to reach a particular context of people. Churches are not put in place to reach the broader, they're not designed to reach everybody, but they're designed to reach a particular context. In like manner, your organization, whatever it is, has an assignment that you have to be clear on. What is your product and who is it that you are designed to reach, okay? So before selecting the right people, leaders must understand, again, what context. That's a word that's very, very important. Context. How are you shaped contextually? Who are you designed to reach? Okay. For us, our church, I can spit off the demographic. We are mostly 90, probably 96, 97% African American. We're located in the bedroom community of Sugar Land, Texas, which plays host to a solid middle to upper middle class people. And many of them have at least one degree, and some of them go on to achieve probably 2 degrees beyond that. They're homeowners who value stability and long-term investment. And there are individuals who have a prosperous mindset. But that's the context. They're educated. We have a large portion of people who are members of organizations, fraternities, sororities. They're college graduates, and you find quite a bunch of former Southernites at the Fort Bend Church. Those of you who have visited our church, you know that the Jaguars are represented real well at the Fort Bend Church. But you have to know your context. And what I've learned is you have to be unapologetic about your context. People will challenge you and say, well, you're only going after a certain type of people. But in order to be successful in business, you have to profile. You have to profile the person that's designed for your organization to reach. Okay? Then, after you understand who you're leading and profile the person for the assignment, you have to hire staff that meets that demographic, okay? So, my staff, some of them are here, they're again, African American, degreed or holding more than one degree. They're also, many of them are homeowners who value stability. They are married with families, which influences how they approach responsibility, commitment, and leadership. Now, let me give you a very important discovery that I've made in the 22 years that I've been in leadership. And this is no kick against any particular demographic of people, but I have discovered people with responsibilities make better employees. What do you mean by that? People who are married, people who have children at home make better employees. Their decisions are based upon their level of responsibility. Now, I'm not saying that, married folk, because I know she's looking at me funny, married folk are great employees and single folk not, but I'm saying there's a certain mindset. And even if you don't have family, what type of responsibilities do you have? Do you own a home? You have to have people who feel that they need to get up and go to work every day for some reason. Okay. When you entertain people who are just flying off the seat of their pants and still trying to discover themselves, that's where you have a lot of turnover. But people who know that they have responsibilities to meet, they make better employees. Character. When you're looking for the right person, character is non-negotiable. Championships are built on character. You cannot ignore the character of a person. Poor character can become a liability to your brand. Okay. Now, when I started pastoring and leading my organization 20 years ago, all you had to do was be a decent leader and a decent preacher, and that would lead you to some amount of success. Nowadays, churches, pastors got to have a brand. So I have a brand, and I don't know whether I created it or it was gifted to me. Either way, I do have a brand. And so now you have to protect protect that brand, protect your name, protect the organization, because the brand, for me, I'm tied to the brand and the brand is tied to the church. So it's three in one. You have to hire people with your brand in mind. Pay attention to a person's patterns, reputation, even a person's public persona, including, here we go, your social media presence. Including your social media presence. Those of you who work with young people and teach them, I think you need to stress that. Because nowadays, I know I do, and I know many employers do, when they're trying to get to know a person or know who he or she is, the first place they go, they try to find them online through social media. And you want to govern yourselves real carefully about what you post on your social media page. You know, one wrong picture or statement or like can maybe be the deciding factor between you getting a job and not getting a job. I stress everything does not have to go on social media. Everything. I mean, it's who you, nowadays in 2026, it's who you are. It's like having a driver's license, having a social media presence. That's just how we communicate. But still, what you put out there is your choice. And so I think that you have to be protective of that, because that sells who you are. So you have to choose employees with the future of your organization, in mind. So character is non-negotiable. Okay. Leadership and vision. Leaders must be fully committed to the vision to empower their staff to believe in it. Okay? The vision of your organization has to be clearly and coherently communicated. And it also must be embraced. Okay? We work on jobs, we should know, like the back of our hand, what is the vision? What is the vision for where I am right now? What am I here to accomplish? And do I agree with it? Do I agree with it? You know, not only does a vision have to be communicated, we feel sometimes leaders fall short because they feel, well, I've clearly communicated the vision, and everybody understands it. You cannot just understand it. You have to embrace it. You have to work. You have to work in an environment where you agree and embrace the vision of the organization that you work for, or you will not last long in that organization. Okay, I want to be clear on that. Again, that's not something they teach you in business class 101. They teach communicate the vision and make sure everybody understands it. That's good. But do I embrace it? If I'm working for Apple, do I embrace I can read, but do I internalize it? Do I embrace it? Okay, that's very, very, and it may be a good question for you to ask yourself today. Do you embrace where you are today? Do you embrace the vision? You can only give your heart and hard work not only to a place that you read the vision, but you also embrace it. Okay? People follow clarity and conviction, not titles. A leader must be able to inspire confidence in the people that they employ. Just like great coaches know the field and the playbook, a leader knows he's clear on his vision and the context that shapes that vision. Knowing who is being served and understanding the demographic allows leaders to select individuals who can operate effectively and efficiently within that environment. All right. Competitive spirit. Teams rise to the level of expectation that has to be set by the leader, but the leader has to possess a competitive spirit. You're not going to hear many senior pastors say what I'm getting ready to say right now. I view other churches as competition. There it is. I said it. I view other churches as competition. I said, Pastor, you shouldn't be that way. You should be embracing and loving, and I am. But you're my competitor. Let me put some context on that. By possessing a competitive spirit, what I mean is, I am not so self-absorbed with where I am and the success of my church that I don't look outside, to see what other churches are doing. I'm not arrogant enough to believe that I've got all the answers and I do, what needs to be done, and I'm so self-sufficient. There are a lot in Houston. There are a lot of large churches within a small proximity from each other. There may be three or four what we consider to be large churches or mega churches, which are less than 3 miles from each other. They're in the same neighborhood. Okay. If I'm not willing to reach out and look and see what the Wheeler Avenues are doing, what they're doing at the Fountain of Praise, what they're doing. I mean, you don't know these names, but these are large churches in my side of town in Houston. If this other pastor, other church has an LED wall, and I ain't got none, then I got to get me a LED wall. I'm laughing about that, but most churches that in 2026, again, 20 years ago, that was totally different. All you had to do was preach well. And people would come. Now you got to have all these bells and whistles. So I got 4 of them. I got one behind me. I got 2. And I got one in the back. So whether you look it online or whether you come to church in person, you'll see that, okay, this church is up to date. This church has the right equipment. And again, it's based upon staying in stride with your competitors. I tell my staff, I give them a list of churches. Hey, go online, see what they're doing. What are some new ideas that you can borrow from? It is having a competitive spirit. I'll also say, and I'm approaching this from a pastor / entrepreneurial aspect. In Houston, since Houston is so large, and it's a well church city, you want to always remain a part of the conversation. What do you mean, Pastor? Well, when people, when they first move to town, they're going to find somewhere to get their hair done and nails done, and you're going to find a barbershop. You may find a gym to work out, and you're going to find, okay, what are the best restaurants in town? And all of this is from basically word of mouth. The same thing they do with restaurants, they do with churches, okay? Because come Sunday, I'm gonna get up and go somewhere. What are, and it's asked, I've seen polls. They asked online, what are the top churches in Houston? And guess who is scaling that particular post to see how they answer? Me. And if somebody doesn't say the Fort Bend Church, I get mad. You always want to stay a part of the conversation. Where should we go? Well, you should attend here, you should did there. Oh, and check out the Fort Bend Church. That's how you stay relevant and alive. And the only way to do that is to have a competitive spirit. Yeah, we love the Lord, we love Jesus, all that. But you have to have a competitive spirit. And you have to hire people that are willing to compete. Do not settle. Set your bar high. Excellence is not the goal, it's the standard. Excellence is the standard. And you cannot relegate that to people who don't understand that. Okay? So for current staff, you have to make sure that they're operating in a spirit of excellence, but also people that you bring on your team have to understand and embrace who you are. It means recognizing potential early while at the same time refusing to settle for mediocrity. Okay. A lot of what we're discussing flows into what I want to talk about next, the 5-2-1 principle, the 5-2-1 principle, okay? Now, today is Wednesday, and if you're a member of a church, I'm pretty sure that you're going to have Wednesday night Bible study. Well, since y'all invited a pastor to present today, I didn't come today to be very churchy, but I do want to, now y'all know I'm a Baptist preacher. I'm gonna have to refer to the Bible at some point. So I found that in Matthew chapter 25. And I'm not preaching a sermon, but I want to show you something that's biblically based, and because I do think that the hiring and identifying of the right people for your organization can in some ways be very, very spiritual exercise. Okay. So here we are, 5-2-1 principle. If you've been a member of church at any point in time, your pastor has probably preached the parable of the talents. In Matthew 25, it says, "For the kingdom of heaven is like a man traveling to a far country who called his own servants and delivered his goods to them. And to one he gave 5 talents, and to another 2, and to another 1, to each according to his own ability. And immediately he went on a journey. Then the one who had received 5 talents went and traded with them and made another 5 talents. Likewise, he who had received 2 gained 2 more. But he who had received 1 went and dug in the ground and hid his Lord's money." Okay. The owner of the talents in the text represents a large sum of money. A talent means something that is weighed. And in the time in which this is written, they would weigh objects on a scale as a sign of its worth. So a talent could mean money or something that's worth something of a high value, okay? The owner who has a prosperous mindset, he decides, well, I'm going to expand my business. I'm going to enlarge my territory. So he calls 3 of his servants, 3 of his employees, and gives them a portion of the talents that he has. He gives 5 to one, 2 to another, and 1. But each one of them got something. And then he leaves, okay? This particular parable is what I use to establish our vision and our statement of excellence with my current team, okay? And I use it to point out some things. Number 1, clearly define the position and the level of responsibility required, okay? Let's go back to the text. The owner gave 1 5, 1 2, and 1 1. And the Bible says each according to his ability, okay? Sometimes in church life, we've taught this particular story wrong because we seem to teach it from the standpoint that the person who received 2 can work his way up to being a 5, okay? And that's incorrect. A person who receives 5 is a 5. So we'll attach that number to the different personalities. The one who received 5, one who received 2, one who received 1. 5-2-1 principle. A 5 is a 5. It is not a former 2. Okay? When you're trying to staff for positions, you have to determine what category that position falls into. Whether it's a 5, whether it's a 2, or whether it's a 1. That will determine the type of person that you need to fill that position. Okay? 5 positions are high value. That's where your leaders are chosen. These people tend to have the ability to handle heavy responsibility, and they are the thinkers. They are the thinkers of your organization. 2s are great managers. They're responsible for your brand because they work in close proximity with the majority of people on your team. The ones only give you back what you give them. Ones are going to do what's on the job description. Matter of fact, they keep the job description with them because if they're asked to do anything that's not on that job description, it ain't going to happen. They're only going to give you back what you give them. Now, there is space in our organizations for 5s, for 2s, for 1s, but you have to be clear on what jobs are for 5s, what jobs are for 2s, and what jobs are for 1s, okay? The person with 5, as the text shows us, he traded, or rather he risked the 5 that he had, and he expanded it, and he gained 5 more. The person with the 2 did the same thing. He took his 2, expanded it, and now he doubled it, and he has 4, okay? Your organization will grow with 5s and 2s, okay? But you have to be clear. You have to be clear. What is a 5 position? What is a 2 position? What's a 1? Let me give you kind of a personal testimony. In the 20 years of my leadership, I wish I had understood this back then when I was building the team that I have. I have a great team. But that took some mistakes along the way because I thought that, okay, I got a 5 position, but my budget can't afford to hire 5, so I'm gonna hire a good 2 and train them to be a 5. And it never happened. 2s can be good 2s, but just because you're a 2 doesn't mean that you have the ability to be a 5. Each of us has I believe, a God-given capacity, okay, or ability that has been predetermined. And all right, let me poll the house. How many of y'all supervise people? How many of y'all manage those folks? Okay. Has there ever been a time, you can raise your hand for this, that you became frustrated with one of your employees? Yeah. You know why? Because your expectation of that position is out of line. That causes frustration. When you are expecting 5 output from a 2, you ain't gonna get it. And I've been in that position where I frustrated myself. And you can't fire them because they haven't done anything to warrant that. But they're just not operating in the capacity that you placed them in. Okay? Great people They do well at their position, but and again, this is stuff they don't teach you in business class, okay? You gotta know, okay, I got a different expectation for fives, I got a different expectations for two. Organizations grow when they are filled with people like fives and twos who multiply where they are, who can give you back more than what you have given them. Organizations filled primarily with ones only maintain the status quo. So if you want to stay normal, if you want to stay where you are for 10, 20, 30 years, then all you want to do is hire ones. Ones are affordable. They're dime a dozen. But to get the fives, it may cost you. So you got to go in. What I do every year, as we budget, I look at our budget, I look at where we're going, who we're going to need, what type of people we're going to need going in the future for a long-term contribution, and I budget for that. If I don't have it in the budget, I may have to rearrange some stuff. I may have to decrease the number of twos in order to get a five. All right. That's what, when we talk about identifying first round draft picks, that's the same thing that NFL team owners, that's what they do every year. Matter of fact, that's what they do all year. They see the position that they need. If it's a five, then they may have to move or let go or trade a two or several twos to get that five that they need for their organization. Same thing that we always do. We have to identify what those positions are. Okay? Every leader must clearly define the position they are trying to fulfill and understand the level of responsibility attached to that role. Okay? Organizations, you have to have your share of five. Be honest. Approach the process with some integrity, okay? And have more than once a year, you should be evaluating, okay? Let me tell you something that has changed since I was, when I graduated from Southern in 1990, I graduated with a degree in accounting. I worked for Mobil Oil for about a year and a half. I left Mobil, moved to Houston, did some accounting work, and then landed a job with Houston Independent School District as an auditor. I worked as an auditor until I went into ministry full time. During that time, you know, sung the same way, you got that one yearly evaluation, okay? And everything you've done for that year gets evaluated, your progress gets evaluated at that 1 year mark. What has changed now, this generation needs constant feedback. They need constant feedback. They'll do something and they want you to evaluate them after only 3 weeks on the job. They want to know how well am I doing? How well am I doing? Well, you know, my answer to that, you still here, that means you're doing a decent job. But you're going to have constant evaluation and feedback. You cannot wait until, you know, the year that I was used to. You have to give that feedback more often. Because here's another thing. In that story, the one who received 5 gained 5 more. The owner came back and settled accounts, and they were eager to face him because they had been profitable with what they were given. So the one with 5 says, "Look, I gained 5 more." And his owner said, "Well done. You've been faithful over a few things. Now I'm going to make you ruler over many things." Same thing he said to the one with the 2. Okay. The reward for good work is more work. The reward for good work is more work. In my organization, when you do well, guess what? You're going to get some more work to do. If you are, well done. You've been faithful with what you had. Now, let me give you something else to manage, okay? When you're managing at a 5 and a 2 level, then everything, those are your prize employees. Everything they touch turns to gold. Remember, the talents that were given to them, they didn't take ownership for because the talents still belong to the owner. So as they're doing well, as they're increasing, the footprint of the owner is expanding. Wow. You have to hire 74% of employees say that I've hired the wrong person. Wow. And maybe today, this may be something that that pinches your spirit. And you say to yourself, you know what? They hired me as a 2, but I'm really a 5. And so we need to renegotiate my contract because you paying me 2 salary, but I've been giving you 5 output. All right. 521 principle. Okay. Something else that's important. Here's a choice that as leaders of the organization, you have to determine whether you are playing for the long game and you're trying to sustain growth over time, or you want short-term success. Okay? NFL teams do this all the time. They have to determine whether they need a seasoned starter or future franchise player. Okay? When the draft happens, that's what you're going to see. There are a whole lot of deals that are going to be cut because there are teams that need a veteran player, or they need a future franchise player. You have to determine, what do you need for your organization? Veterans are best suited for short-term goals requiring immediate expertise. Okay? They're short-term. I remember, and y'all, I'm in Louisiana. I am a Saints fan. I'm a card-holding Saints fan. Who that nation? That's my team. That's my team. And I remember when Tom Brady, who played for the New England Patriots, he went to play for our nemesis, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Okay? And shortly after that, Tampa Bay went to the Super Bowl that year. Because instead of them investing in the draft for a future franchise player, which rookies have to be developed for long-term, you got to have time to mentor and to shape them. But if you want instant success, you go get a veteran. In the hiring process, you have to determine whether or not you need somebody with a ton of experience or somebody that you can invest in and grow with your organization, okay? So that's where you have to determine whether you need a veteran or a rookie. All right, that's how you build championship team, a dynasty. Okay. Smart leaders know how to adjust the game plan. All right. Okay, by now, you've identified your first round draft pick. You've gone through the process of inquiring them, placing them on your team. Then you find out, okay, I put them in a position that they're good, but doesn't match what they're gifted or what they're called to do, okay? I have a decision to make. Whether or not I risk that person going to another organization and being in a place where they can fully utilize their gift, or am I willing to identify a fit, reposition them, and stay flexible? So if you are a stellar employee, and I've invested a lot of time and resources in, I should be willing to reposition you to a totally different position, but one that meets your gifts and your capabilities, okay? That involves knowing intimately who it is that you have working for you. Yeah. What are they good at? Are they willing to learn? Are they willing to go and get another degree to help them do their job? Are they willing to get the certifications that are required for that job? Are you willing to risk switching them, repositioning them in order to further the growth of your organization? Okay. Not every first round draft pick will succeed in the role they were initially hired for. Effective leaders are willing to pivot and reposition individuals according to their gifts and talents. Well, as I said to my church on Sunday, I'm done. And may the Lord bless you real good. But anyway, just want to remind you, just as you're trying to identify, you're out there trying to identify people for your organization, selecting first round draft picks, highly valuable employees, requires vision, discernment, and flexibility. When leaders choose wisely and develop intentionally, they can build strong and sustainable teams. I want to give you some places that you can visit on the website. Some of you may be familiar with some of these in terms of in the process of identifying first round draft picks. What are you hiring them for and what should they be paid? You can visit the Bureau of Labor Statistics. That will give you some information on hiring that individual. What we use a lot of times is Glassdoor. Glassdoor.com. It gives salary ranges by company and location, job descriptions, employee reviews, and interview insights. Some may go to salary.com, gives you some similar information. Payscale.com is a good source. Of course, we're familiar with LinkedIn to find good people. Robert Half, Half, has a salary guide that can be used. But these are just some of the online places you can go to get these questions answered. Okay. Thank you so much for your attendance today. I'm going to. It was my pleasure to be back at the university, and just thankful to be here. And go Jags!
Go Jags.
Amen.
Thank you, Reverend Stevenson. We can entertain a couple of questions if you have any. I will say this was very, very well put together as a comparison. I don't think any of us have heard how different you can have analogies that help you in your business to grow from a sole proprietor, maybe to even just a team of two. You know, you're always in the field, but you need someone to handle your calls or your inside until you return to your base. So is there any question anybody may have that this presentation from Reverend Stevenson prompted? Come on, don't be afraid. Yes.
You talked about the first Carlton Jones, National President, Southern University Alumni Federation. You talked about what to do with the first round draft picks, but identifying them. Can you have any stories about identifying if you've seen them? How do you identify the five? How do you identify them when you walk? Was it a task you gave them? Was it an assignment and you just saw the potential? Identifying, and how do you mark a five? I guess organization.
I try to go after fives for my organization. Fives for us represents people who are their gifts, their talents are of such that they're always in demand. Okay, and you can see that sometimes their social media presence will show that they're in demand. Word of mouth, people say, "Oh, you need such and such on your staff," and so when you're looking for particular people, right now we're in the midst of trying to engage a new audiovisual manager, and right now that field, it's in high demand. Every church needs a good audiovisual manager. So the word is out there. I'm looking for I'm not looking for somebody to just contract to do a gig. I'm looking for somebody I can put on my team who's ready and willing to carry my organization further. So I'm looking for draft picks who have a history successfully of working with some high dollar teams. And so it's the work that you've done that helps identify. Like I said, in my presentation, I'm looking for a veteran there. I don't have time. I ain't got time to work with no rookies. I need a veteran who can come in where the learning curve is short, and they can take it to the next level. Two of my staff members are here. I remember when Nanaji was first hired. He was hired as a rookie, and now has grown into the position of assisting us with all of our media coordination, and has done some. We have discovered that he has some AV talent, so that's going to help us too. But again, I'm clear this time. I'm not trying to get the guy that I can afford. I'm trying to get the guy or the gal who may break my bank, but a year from now, they're going to put me in position to be where I need to be.
Thank you. Chiquita Stevenson, Advancement Director for Nelson
Hey,
Mandela
cousin,
here.
how you doing?
Hey, good to see you, cousin. You sort of kind of rolled into the question, but not all of our organizations, our businesses have the budget where we can hire and pay a 5, but we definitely need a 5. How do you, and he walked away, but he started off as a rookie. How do you identify that talent as a 5, knowing that you can't pay them the 5 salary, but encourage them to come on board to help build as a 2?
Okay. What I've done in situations like that, you would be surprised the talent pool that exists in people that are retired. Some retirees have been 5s. They've got the resume to prove it, and they would be willing to come and work for your organization without having all of their amenities met, because many of them, if you retired, you're getting retirement, you got probably some benefits already. So at that point in life, you may want to help an organization and use your gifts there. And so it depends on what season of life a 5 is in, but you have to put on your negotiating hat. The requests are not granted by questions that are not asked. I'm always recruiting, so I don't have any shame in my game. You can't hurt my feelings. Hey, what would it take for you to come and work for the Fort Bend Church? And you'll be surprised. They may say, well, you know what? I thought about that. I've even prayed about that. This is where I am. This is what I think will be sufficient for me to come and work and make that move. And then you have a decision to make. Maybe it may require you moving some things around. Maybe you set that as a goal, that maybe not in this budget cycle, but maybe in the next. So, but when you need a certain position, but you don't have the budget for it, I would say go looking for that individual that's retired, and maybe looking for, they don't want to go back to where they were, but they do want to serve in a meaningful way. You'll be surprised how they may surprise you. Yeah.
Any more questions in the room?
Thank you so much for the awesome presentation. So still sticking with the 5-2-1, if you are supervising someone and you need them to be the 5, and to piggyback on Dr. Stevenson's question, we're salary restricted. So you're basically getting the 2 because the 1 in that person or that employee, they're carrying around the job description, as you mentioned. How do you encourage, or how do you motivate the supervisor to motivate the 2 with 1 tendencies to get them to the 5, especially when we're dealing with, the very similar situation of budget restrictions and, not a very competitive salary?
Okay. In my field of work, I think you mentioned 2s with one tendencies. At a 5 level, I think everybody in the room will want some 5s in all of their positions. But you're right. You don't, and I could say to you, be creative, and it's almost like playing playing cards, making a good hand out of what you have. Can you find another two? And maybe you take one job and split it. Maybe that one job is probably become 2 or 3 jobs, but we've never paid attention to it and said, okay, it's time to kind of, split atoms here. It's time to, the job that you're doing is really 2 jobs. Yeah, and the person is giving you one output, probably not because they're a bad employee, but maybe they feel that they know that they've been doing 2 jobs and only being paid for one. Okay, so that's a decision that you have to make. Every now and then, I think I teach, you got to manage your organization by getting out of your office, getting from behind your desk, and just walk around. See what people are doing. Ask them questions. Do you see yourself in this position long term? What are your goals? I mean, and don't wait till the evaluation to do that. I'm saying have conversation. We don't do that a lot. Social media and texting has put us in a position where we don't even conversate. We don't even talk to each other. We don't know how. Just ask. What do you want to do? What do you see yourself? What are some of your goals? They may surprise you. Again, a conversation can open up a whole can that might be beneficial to you. But I would make sure that if I'm hiring for 2 jobs, now, I think the last answer to that question, if that particular person sees value in your leadership and your vision and where you're going, they'll stick with you for less money if there is the promise of something better up ahead. Yeah. Don't let it fool you. People they're not jumping off a job, right? Some people, if they're in a solid situation, they're willing, but so you have to quantify that. You can't that cannot be infinite. Hey, I know where you are. I know what you're getting paid. We've got some things in the works, but quite possibly I need you to do this job for another year or another year and a half before I can get you where I believe that you need to be. That requires a decision on your part, but it also has a decision on my part. Okay. Okay.
We did get a couple of comments from online as well as a couple of questions. I'm going to read them really quickly. The first one is for Dr. Kimberly Parrott. Great point, Reverend Stevenson. Be unapologetic about the selection of who you select as a part of your organization. In addition, also says a 5 is 5, not a form of true skill and will. Dolores Maiden says great presentation, thank you, as well as Mark, great presentation. My favorite comment is actually just a quote from Kobe Bryant. Competition teaches you the value of hard work and dedication. That's when Dennis Frazier also asked a question. This is the first question: how important is culture fit?
Mm-hmm. Good deal. Well, to answer that question is it's very important. In the world in which we live, culture becomes, very, very important when in terms of identifying your context. We have to get out of a mindset that if my context is African American, that means that I'm anti everything else, which is not true. It's a reality. I'm a black pastor, so the majority of people that I'm going to attract going to look like me. You know, that doesn't mean that I'm not culturally sensitive, but it is a cultural enigma that I have to that this is just real. You know, it's just real. If you own a business and you're selling African American attire, then quite honestly, your context is going to be people that wear that attire. So, I mean, I think that it has to be approached with some integrity, but I mean, just be honest about it. Cultural fit is real important. Okay.
And I do have couple other comments from the Horrible Dangerfield. As a retiree, I'm in total agreement. Jill says great presentation, as does Dennis Washington, as well as Lucy Bremen. But I do have another comment and a question. The comment, or this is from Lemerritt Thomas Frazier. I would like to ask how you can identify a 5 when hiring. I have made some hiring mistakes when owning my firm the last 5 years, but I've learned to ask different questions and look deeper into the candidate. But I'm truly looking for a 5 for my next candidate. Sometimes the person looks like a 5 on paper, doesn't fit the 5 character.
Okay. If you're looking for a 5, make sure that what you're offering is a 5. It's a 5 job. And you know that going in. See, sometimes we go in with the 2 mindset and we hope that we land a 5, a big fish. No. Take your job description. Before, another way of tackling that is ask yourself the question, am I hiring the person or am I hiring the position? Okay. It may be, and this may be kind of ties into your question, you may want to hire a particular individual because you know that they have the capacity, or somebody that you know, and you try to fit them into that position, okay? Because you are just convinced that they're the one for the job. Or do you take an approach that blankets you from that and say, I'm going to hire the best person for this position? If you're looking for a 5, make sure that you're trying to hire them for 5 work. Don't go after a 5, think you're going to get one, if all you're hiring them for is to do middle management work. That's not 5. That's 2 work, but it's not 5 work. And I think that if you're honest about your approach with yourself, then that leads to success in the hiring process. And I can speak from experience. I thought I had a 5, and I ended up having a 1. Because the 5, they looked the part on the outside, but I discovered that they got 1. 1, that's all it is 1. So to be transparent and honest with yourself, even as you go into, I think a whole lot of companies would do well if they would just employ that 5-2-1, you know, and it increases their productivity, but it makes sure that you're not frustrated. Okay. And I'm not saying that 5 2s and 1s are the limit. Understand what the text is it teaches us. The one who had 2 still multiplied. He or she had the right mindset. They were not limited, but they just didn't have the ability that the 5 has. Doesn't mean that they were bad. Yeah. Yes, ma'am. Sure.
Okay, Elder Scott,
Yes.
here, the
Right.
Wellness Center of Community Support here, and I want to thank you for your presentation.
I appreciate it.
I think the one thing we haven't talked about is that how do you hire a 5 when you only have a 4 or 3 salary?
Yeah.
I've had that experience where people wanted to hire me, but they didn't have the money to afford me. And so one company, I ended up taking the job, but my lawyer advised me to write a contract, put in there that we hired you contingent on us getting the money. And if you bring in a certain amount of business, then we will automatically raise your salary. And they didn't think I could do that. They hired me for less money, and when I brought in money, then they wanted to renew us. But, you know, my lawyer said, do I need to come to the meeting?
Well, thank you for everybody here in attendance. We really appreciate your in-person presence. It means so much to the Boundary Center team program area that is me, myself, and I, plus Chris with support, but I can't leave out Danielle and all other staff that are here at the foundation. We couldn't have done it without you all. Those who are here, thanks for your support. We hope that you all will take advantage of the seminars and the information that we provide and assimilate it into your own space. I don't think anybody thought that Reverend Stevenson could do a comparison of what does he mean by first round draft pick. And I think he did an excellent comparison. Excellent comparison so that we can see how valuable this information gives us so that we can expand, not only here in the Boundary Center, but some of these tips will help me to search for other presenters. And so our evaluation will come to everybody who signed up. If you didn't register, it's really important to me to know, because as you said, you know, I'm approaching a 5. I never say I'm at the top. I'm always knowing that I have room for growth. So I'm approaching a 5, and your evaluations and your registrations assist me. When I started, I might have had 5 people in the room, and they were my staff coworkers. So I really appreciate all of you coming today. I want to especially say thank you to Reverend Byron Stevenson, who not only is a presenter today, but he is also on our advisory board for the Boundary Center, and we have a couple of presentations or gifts for you at this time.
Okay.
So this is just a little something for your office, for yourself and your executive assistant, Ms. Bailey. She assisted me very well.
Okay.
Arranged to get you here, as well as your staff. And then we have a wonderful presentation that we like to give to our presenters in the form of the Bluff, Scott's Bluff.
Okay.
So when you enter the building, you all would have seen the mural on the wall. It was hand painted here by Terrence Osborne, a New Orleans native. Now, Robert, you know, come on, Robert. So we want to present your autographed print of the Bluff.
Oh,
That
wow.
you can
Wow. Okay.
Well, we don't want to be, we're 4.5, so we don't want to be a 5.
On my side, okay. All right.
So we don't want to always be a 5, right?
I know that's
feeling
right.
like
Wow.
this, we needed some more work. But thank you so much for being here. And those of you online, we greatly appreciate your attendance, your comments, your support by registering. Our next event is April 16th here at the Boundary Center. That one, we do have a number of registrations, and it's going to talk about sustaining relationships with HBCUs.
we need you all at all times to be available and support us and pass it on. So thank you all again. Have a great rest of your day. This is Terry Brayton, Director of Programs here at the Value Center for Philanthropy. We want to thank the Value family for supporting their philanthropic pathway to bringing it here back on their campus that they graduated in the mid-50s. So thank you all for being here. Kudos as well to the William and Flora Hewlett Foundation. Their grant provided us an opportunity to provide this complimentary session for you all today, as well as April 16th. See you then. Thank you. Goodbye.
Yeah.